20 straight weeks of racing to decide the NASCAR Winston Cup Series champion begin now. The crowd is on its feet. The 43rd Pepsi 400 goes green on NBC.
Up some spots.
The yellow line on the bottom of the racetrack is the out-of-bounds line. Think of it like the sideline on a football field. The drivers were told in their pre-race meeting, go below that, you're going to be penalized by NASCAR.
And that's really what got us in trouble a lot in past before they made that rule. What happened is guys would go below that line, then when you got to turn 3, you have to get back up on the racetrack, and if there was 3 or 4 abreast there was no room.
Ward Burton leads lap 1. Squeezing underneath Kevin Harvick. Harvick in the white car. On board with Harvick.
Joe Nemechek is in the 33 car. His first race back since Richmond in May. He crashed practice in his Busch car at Dover. And has been trying to heal all this time.
Casey Atwood in the 19, the young 20-year-old from Nashville, being passed by Sterling Marlin for second.
Not so fast.
Our colleagues at Fox began a tradition of saluting the memory of Dale Earnhardt with a silent lap 3. We feel it appropriate, and we're proud to carry that tradition on. To the lead. 3 deep for 6th spot on down as Ward Burton gets shuffled back to 5th. Andy Houston, the rookie, going for the lead on the outside.
Aston drafting help with Joe Nemechek and good Houston in front.
Last night in final practice, they made some changes to the 96 car. Andy said the changes they made, a spring in the right rear and also a sway bar change, helped that car tremendously. And even though he's lost the lead now, expect Andy Houston to handle a very comfortable race car up front all night long.
Marlin back to the point. That's Ward Burton right behind him as you look out in the back bumper of the Marlin car. Front 6 now single file. Then they're 2 or 3 deep from there on back.
That is the most important thing, a comfortable race car for this race. Now, this track probably has quite a bit less grip than it had in February. I think once the tires get a lot of heat, fuel burns off, this car's going to be a little bit more of a handful than right now.
Stacy Compton in the 92 racing Joe Nemechek for 3rd spot.
I can't believe these guys can do this. Lap after lap after lap, side by side, 3 wide.
My fists are all clenched together up here. I can't imagine what it's like in a race car. Dodge, dodge, dodge for 3. Then the Chevrolets of Kevin Harvick and Joe Nemechek. Also Mike Skinner in there in a Chevy.
And Mike Skinner started 23rd in that number 31.
Here comes Ricky Rudd. And Michael Waltrip, the Daytona 500 winner in the 15 car. Michael started back in 22nd spot. It's up to 8th, racing for 7th and 6th.
He told us in coverage of the final practice he was working on being able to run around the racetrack wide open, never having to crack the trunk.
Waltrip in the 15, Rudd in the 28, Gordon in the 24, trying to advance the inside line by Skinner. That'd be for 5th position. The light blue car, the outside lane, the 66 machine.
Started in 31st position.
We'll see that all night long. Cars coming from the back to the front, shuffling back to the back, coming back to the front. It's one of the exciting things about this kind of racing.
Yeah, exciting and sometimes very frustrating, because just when you get up there and you go, all right, I'm going to get with the lead guys, we're going to get in line, and we're going to take off, and all of a sudden they split you and you go right to the back. And it's like that all night long.
Leader Sterling Marlin, the silver car. Bobby Labonte and Tony Stewart, the Joe Gibbs cars, both started deep in the field. They're both still running deep in the field. Let's go to Marty Snyder.
And Alan, that should be no surprise. I stood with Tony Stewart and Bobby Labonte right before the race. They had a little mini meeting. They said, listen, we're going to drop straight to the back. We're just going to ride there. In fact, they don't want to ride at the back of the pack. They want to ride beyond the back of the pack. They want to be away from the main pack to avoid what they think is going to be a big wreck this evening. Now, they've tried this strategy before, and every time they've tried it, it has backfired. They're hoping it won't backfire tonight. To Matt Yoakum.
Marty, Sterling Marlin spotter, Lauren Renier, son of the late Daytona 500 winning car owner Harry Renier, told Sterling Marlin, drop back, you're getting too far out, try to stay more with the group, you're getting too far out, you're going to give them too much good air to make a run on you. He acknowledged that, said 10-4, and he hit the brakes, slowly backing up to let the 22 suck up on his bumper.
Started this race in 19th position. He loves coming to Daytona. He actually likes racing here because he's had so much success. But despite starting 19th, not much success so far tonight. He's reported that his car is a little loose. It's also running hot in traffic. Water temperature 235. Last time by, 32nd from his 19th starting spot.
Kevin Harvick just went all the way to scrape the paint off the outside wall to take the lead from Sterling Marlin.
Isn't it wonderful to watch these young, brave drivers driving around Daytona and Talladega?
And listen to the roar of the fans. This was Dale Earnhardt's car.
Here comes Dale Earnhardt's car. Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, Michael Waltrip on the inside, trying to take that lead away from Kevin Harvick.
Here's Waltrip, Harvick to block.
You know, what Kevin just did took him out of the line, and he's going to lose a lot of positions unless he can squeeze back in line right there.
Marlin to the lead, Andy Houston to second, the McDonald's car there. Now Waltrip in third, Todd Bodine goes to fourth, and they're 3 deep from fifth on back.
Oh, man, oh, man.
We had 49 lead changes in the Daytona 500. We've already had 4, and we're just in the opening laps of the Pepsi 400 at Daytona. You're watching NASCAR on NBC. 14 of 160 laps are now complete in the 43rd running of the Pepsi 400 at Daytona. Sterling Marlin is the leader. Michael Waltrip is second. Andy Houston is third. Todd Bodine fourth. Now they're mixing it up from back. 6th position on back. You've got Ricky Craven in 5th, Mike Skinner in 6th, and now this race for 7th between Ward Burton in the 22 and Kevin Harvick in the 29.
And look at that, moving up. Mike Wallace started 42nd in that 7 car. He is up to the 10th position. Has gained 32 spots.
And Mike's kind of fighting for his job here this weekend.
This might be his last ride in that 7 car. But again, he ran just like this in the Daytona 500. Ran terrific here in Talladega.
Yeah, Talladega, he started dead last in the field, 43rd, finished 9th. Let's get more on Mike Wallace's race so far from Dave Burns.
Well, and Alan Benny's right. He started 27th here in February and finished 6th. Now, I just talked with Jim Long, his crew chief, who said we knew the car was going to be good. We didn't expect it to be quite this good. I talked with car owner Jimmy Smith, and he said, hey, I spent $1 million trying to get this thing to go fast by itself. It wouldn't. We had to take a provisional, but boy, it sure goes in a pack of cars.
Back through Mike Wallace in 10th, now sorting out single file.
I mean, you know, especially Mike's had to sit and watch somebody else drive his race car for the last couple of years. That's like seeing your wife out with somebody else. I mean, that is a terrible feeling watching your race car go around the racetrack without you in it.
3 deep, that's Dale Earnhardt Jr. left of your screen. Kevin Harvick in the middle. Ricky Rudd down on the inside of the racetrack. And they're racing for 9th, 10th, and 11th spots. Now he lifted there.
Yes, he did.
Pit road, Bill Weber.
Just talked to Kevin Hamlin, the crew chief for Kevin Harvick. I asked him if they had any damage to the race car. He says he doesn't believe so. He's not certain because Kevin is not talking to them. Remember, he is a rookie. This is his first start in a Winston Cup race at Daytona. What Kevin thinks is that Kevin Harvick is focusing on trying to learn where to put the race car on the racetrack. Marty? Well, Bill, when Dale Jr. was just in that 3-wide pack, his spotter Ty Norris said either get in front of them or let off and let Harvick go. He wants to get to the front. We don't need to be on the outside being 3 wide. Let's take it easy. We've got a good car that can win the race. Be patient. It's early.
Telling a race driver to be patient behind the wheel of his car is an easy thing to do. It's a hard thing to make happen.
All right, that yellow line as we go down the backstretch, that is out of bounds, just like Alan told you at the very beginning. And this is going to be the toughest spot on the racetrack to avoid getting below that yellow line. Before the race is over, someone will be penalized for dipping down below that yellow line on the backstretch.
Let's go back and look at that instance that Marty was reporting on a minute ago when Dale Earnhardt Jr. ran up on Kevin Harvick.
That's called a bump draft. You bump them a little bit and get them moving. And believe it or not, the cars run a little faster, bumping at 190 miles per hour.
Now you could hear the engine note pick up a little bit as he gained a little speed when Earnhardt Jr. hit him, and then drop off a little bit when Jr. pulled out from behind him. Mike Skinner in the 31, looking inside of Todd O'Ryan. Overheating some. 51 machine is back to 24th spot now. He started in 11th. This is the race for 5th between Skinner and Todd O'Ryan. See the front 4 out ahead of them. Third place, side by side. Ward Burton up top. Andy Houston down low.
Now that to me, if you had about 5 or 6 veterans up front, they would stay in line and try to break away from the rest of the pack. We got some guys up there that are rookies and not familiar with it. They want to lead, and that's keeping that pack behind them up close to the leaders.
I love it. I love to watch these guys pass each other.
20 laps complete of 160 in the Pepsi 400 at Daytona. Sterling Marlin and Michael Waltrip hold the top 2 spots. You're watching NASCAR. We come back to Daytona in the Pepsi 400 as Michael Waltrip makes a bid for the lead on Sterling Marlin.
With help from Mike Skinner. Skinner pulled up behind that Chevrolet, and to the front they went. And look at Sterling Marlin. They're all on the inside. He's lost 2, 3, 4, 5 spots.
Sterling Marlin has led the last 13 laps of the race. I think everybody's got the idea. He's got a very strong car.
He's waving his arm.
He's waving his arm.
Waving his hand inside the car. He's got
you.
His teammate Jason left from the 0-1 car.
Whatever it is, he couldn't get to pit road.
Could it be that his car is just not right? Could it be that his pushing or loose are just not right, and he's decided to go the back and ride till they can make a pit stop and adjust him?
I mean, in one lap, he's leading the thing, and then all of a sudden in one lap.
Matt Yoakum, what's wrong with Sterling's car?
Alan, talking to Lee McCall, Sterling Marlin's crew chief, he told me that Sterling's complaint is the car is very loose. He's going to try to drop back like a number of the other competitors and just ride in the back until the first round of pit stops, somewhere along lap 52 to 55 to work on this race car. No need to chance anything right now because they have a very stout piece.
There you have it, Benny.
There you have it.
Right again.
And that's smart racing. That's just smart. We're barely 50 miles into not even 50 miles, into a 400-mile race. Now, off of turn number 2, we're going to show you our NBC Speed Trap. Actual live real-time speeds as the cars rocket off this corner at Daytona. Steve Park, fastest. New leader.
Kevin Harvick takes up Richard Childress Chevrolet to the top spot, and check out the battle for second spot as Harvick looks back at Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Michael Waltrip. The 8 and the 15, the two cars in battle for the victory in the Daytona 500.
Ricky Rudd, first Ford in the order, the 28. Dale Earnhardt Jr. goes for the lead. The fans all jump to their feet. Out front, Earnhardt Jr. leads at Daytona.
Check out those fans. They are absolutely loving this, and Earnhardt goes to the front.
We've talked all throughout the week what the young man's state of mind must be coming back here. And we've talked about people going about business as usual. Benny, Dale Jr.'s put on the facade of business as usual, but I've detected through our interviews with him that that's not a facade. It has been business as usual.
But I can also tell by the interviews, and I talked to Tony Uri Sr., his team manager, this young man, Alan, wants this race as badly as he didn't want anything in his life. He wants this one today. Can you imagine what victory thought? No, I can't even think about it. But we've got a long ways to go. Only 28 laps into this thing.
There's Tony Uri.
And Tony's reply to me was, I just hope he doesn't want it too much.
Jeff Burton will run up the outside. He started back in 30th spot. He's running 6th.
And there's Mike Wallace hanging on that trio of Chevrolets, a 7-car in 4th spot. That'd be hard to fire your driver if he finished 4th, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty difficult.
Andy Houston right behind him. Then you've got Matt Kenseth starting to move up.
And Michael Waltrip, who was leading the race just a few laps ago, has now moved back to the 7th, 8th position.
Here's Jeff Burton, said a minute ago. Started back in 30th position. He's up in 5th now.
And that's another driver that told me the day before the race, that's what he worked on last night in final practice. Get in the car where he would handle, where he could drive to the corner accelerator. Jeff, it looks like it's working pretty good so far.
The orange dot on the windshield designed to signify the 5 drivers who are running for the extra $1 million bonus. The Winston Noble 5 bonus. Into the top 5 finishers in the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Memorial Weekend. If one of those drivers wins the race tonight, they get a $1 million bonus from the series sponsor, plus a fan in the consumer contest also gets $1 million. Marty Snyder has more on Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s race.
And Alan, so far, he's been very calm on the radio. The only thing that he has said at Ty Norris's request, his spotter, is that the oil is at 230, the water's at 190. Very patient right now. He is leading the race. Now, the one thing that has started down here is pit strategy. Danny Lawrence, the engine builder for what used to be Dale Earnhardt's team, now Kevin Harvick's team, came down here. They're trying to plan when they're going to pit. The problem for Dale Jr.'s team is that they can only go about 50 laps on this first run. Most of the other teams can go about 55 laps on this first run. So Dale Jr. will probably come down pit road with Bobby Hamilton's team, even though Bobby's running way in the back of the pack because they are pitted right beside each other. Back up down.
Bobby Hamilton running in 35th position after 31 of 160 laps.
We were talking about loose just a moment ago. Let me show you what we're talking about. The car enters the corner. You turn the steering wheel back on the throttle. That's where you want to be, in the green spot. But the back end, it gets loose, goes up the racetrack, and I say that, baby. That's what I said, Wally.
That was a great save.
Little exaggerated on the loose there.
A little exaggerated, but
7 lead changes already. The opening 35 laps of this race.
I think we're going to see a lot of spinning wrenches on these Dodges when they come in, Benny. I think a lot of the cars are loose. Watching the last practice last night, I saw a lot of loose race cars, but it seems like the Dodges are suffering the most right now.
Right now, the best Dodge is in 12th position. Oh, no, let's go back to about the 13th position. John Andretti in the Hamburger Helper Dodge, the best Dodge. And remember, the first 4 qualifiers were Dodges.
And in fact, 5 of the top 10 were Dodges. And now, as you said, Benny, Andretti in 13th is the best. A couple of Dodges riding around at the back of the field. Bill Elliott is in 43rd. He's last in the order. Let's go to Matt Yoakum.
Down here in Ward Burton's pit, I spoke with crew chief Tommy Baldwin Jr. He says the car is just very loose in the center of the corner. They're going to adjust this race car somewhere around lap 51 with air pressure. He said they've been fighting loose all during happy hour. They went into the race trying to adjust on that. Also, Lee McCall says his car is still very loose. Both cars have dropped outside of the top 19. Sterling just now moved up to 18, but both cars fighting loose conditions early on.
You saw the picture of Bill Elliott. There's Casey Atwood with the green bumper. And look how far back to his team car, Elliott.
I mean, Elliott is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, if I'm loose here, I want you to put some bite in the car. I don't know if tire pressure is going to be enough, but especially, in traffic like you are with these cars, I think I'd be looking for some bite.
Casey Atwood started 4th. He's right in front of Bill Elliott in 42nd. Compton started 3rd. He's in 37th. And Ward back in 33rd. We can account for the front 2 rows.
Jeff Burton had moved up, well up into the field from 30th spot. Now he's getting shuffled. He's just dropped 6 positions in that last lap back to 12th spot.
There, had to get out of the throttle.
There's another car that's loose.
We're gonna put a pound in the right rear. Looking inside. Just one on hard though.
Better take a pound out of the right rear, Frankie. He's loose. When you add air pressure to these tires or reduce air pressure, you make that tire, by putting more air pressure in, you make the tire stronger, and that changes the chassis. If you take air pressure out of the tire, you make the tire weaker, and therefore making the car a little bit tighter changes the chassis as well.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. continues to parade around in front of the field. Kevin Harvick, Mike Skinner run right behind him. We're at 39 laps in. Pit stops coming up shortly. Green flag is out. We'll find out.
But you can't pass on the inside until you get to the start-finish line. So all these cars have to go by on the outside. Now, as they go down to 1, you can pass if you're able to. Go get them.
Big gap there.
Stacy Compton trying to get a lap back from the leader. Elliott in the red Dodge on the inside.
Doesn't look like that's going to work tonight.
Not the way Dale Jr.'s running.
No.
And because somebody missed a shift or something in the middle of that pack, that took away your big charge.
I think so. Sterling dropped back about 6 or 7 car lengths there.
Somebody bottomed out really bad up there in big shallow spots. Mountain Dew pit summary.
Look at Matt Kenseth. Once again, a great pit stop by Robbie Reiser and that DeWalt team. 8th comes out 3rd. Schrader picks up a couple and Harvick picks up a couple.
Only caution of the race brought out when Andy Houston hit the wall in turn 4 a short while ago. Let's hear from him.
Alan, new father Andy Houston has just called new mama Lori to tell her that he's okay. Andy, what did happen out there?
Cut a right front tire down on the McDonald's Ford. We had a really good race car. We ran up front early. It seemed like the longer we ran, the tighter the car got. First pit stop, made adjustments, tried to free the car up, and didn't nearly go far enough. The car really pushed that second run after the first stop, and finally ended up blowing the right front tire out and hitting the wall pretty hard. But I'm okay. Just another bad weekend for the McDonald's Ford, and we just can't seem to get this thing turned around. Hopefully, we'll go to Chicago next week. That's home of McDonald's headquarters, and try to have a good run up there. It's pretty frustrating right now, but we're going to.
This is the best shot they've had. It was Andy's best career qualifying performance so far in Winston Cup. And Alan, apparently Andy also reports he may stick around. Joe Nemechek is not feeling well, and Andy may substitute for him if the need arises.
Joe Nemechek is making his first start in some 6 races. He had a hard testing crash at Dover, which he broke his elbow and had assorted other injuries. This is his first race back, so maybe those injuries still feeling the after effects of. Look at the race for second here. Matt Kenseth and Steve Park. Kenseth in the 17, Park in the 1. Got Ken Schrader behind Kenseth.
31 car went from 23rd.
For the lead, Kenseth outside of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Side by side. Now we'll see how strong Junior's car is.
Yes, and look at all these cars behind him just clawing for position. We see Schrader literally pushing Kenseth down the straightaway, trying to bump him in front of the 8 car.
Opening laps of the race, Sterling Marlin had the strongest car, dropped back into the field till he could get a couple of pit stops for the crew to adjust the car. He's sneaking back up. He's in 9th spot. While Kenseth and Junior come to the stripe, still going at it for the lead.
Kenseth in 17, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 8. They raced together in the NASCAR Busch Series for a couple of years. Became pretty good friends, but not friends enough to give the other one the victory.
170,000 seats at Daytona. They're all empty. Everybody's on their feet.
Like Wallace, be careful that yellow line down there. Oh, and he goes by Big Brother Rusty. Boy, that did his heart good. Kenseth could not make the pass happen.
Speeds at the line. Now that's more like it. The car's back in the draft, getting towed along a little bit faster. That's what we expect to see. 63 laps to go in the Pepsi 400 at Daytona. Dale Earnhardt Jr. for now has fended off another challenge. Take away the number.
Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. Tonight's Xfinity Series race from Daytona has been postponed. We're going to see that tomorrow at 12:30. The Chase documentary that's out now, really good Chase Elliott documentary at 5 p.m., 6 p.m. countdown to green, 7 p.m. Cup Series race, and 11 p.m. post-race. For the rest of this evening, we're going back to the 2001 Daytona July race with 26 laps to go, guys.
26 laps to go in the Pepsi 400 and about 6 to 9 laps from the final round of pit stops for the
So we
leaders,
got a round of pit stops coming up here.
We don't see the
Pretty nervous pitting under green anytime you're leading a race, right? Especially Daytona. You want to be able to get the pit road as fast as you can. And
Right now,
keep your drafting partners, because that's going to be important to be able to continue to lead this race or control the front of this race.
Yeah, typically when you put on a green, the field gets separated. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody has somebody has a little slower stop. Somebody doesn't do as good of a job getting on pit road. It separates the field. And of course, Steve, we've forever, everybody didn't have a problem, right? It seems like there's always an opportunity to have a problem getting on pit road. So it's a nervous time for a driver too, because we've seen so many wrecks getting on pit road.
See me kind of moving around a little bit there. A lot of guys, when they would get a little bit too far ahead of second place, you get a little nervous that the guy could get a big run on you. And some guys lift or drag the brake. I like to make the track longer. I like to just go way up the racetrack while that guy on the bottom closes in on me. I still get to stay wide open. I still have the same momentum, actually maybe even more, coming off the top of the hill off turn 2. So that's kind of what I was doing there with Rusty Wallace behind me.
You had more experience at understanding how to lead the race than most.
That's true. You can thank the Uris for that. They were always giving me good rocket ships when we would come to Daytona and Talladega. We also had the RAD program where Andy Petrie's team, Richard Childress, and Dad all invested millions into just aerodynamics, specifically at the plate racetracks. And man, did that pay off. You could see early in that race, we had 4 DEI and DEI and RCR cars up front.
You mentioned Hendrick, and that generated a speedway program in Hendrick.
Did it?
Saw how fast. Yeah. We were. We had some, how do we say, creative conversations around the table where we were explaining we needed to run better at the speedway.
I've experienced those, and I wish I could have heard the ones you had about us.
They usually started with, help me understand something, which was never good.
From Rick.
Yeah, never good.
This was one thing that we didn't really get a chance to talk much about, but Tony Stewart and his teammate Bobby Labonte, obviously very fast at the plate tracks. I raced Tony for a win in the 2004 Daytona 500, and me and him worked together in a lot of plate races. They kind of rode around in the back of the pack till the end. You see him now making his move toward the front as the field's thinned out. Everybody's on old tires. It's a little bit easier to pass people. They had the speed to win this race. And you'll see late as we get close to the end, Bobby Labonte appears into the picture. I was so terrified because I hadn't seen him all night.
Right.
When you're racing up front, we basically had the same guys toward the front of the field at the end of the race, but one, Bobby Labonte. And I'm thinking, oh no, how good is that car? What can he do? Because I haven't seen it, and I don't know how to defend against it. So that's something that's interesting as they start to work their way back through the field here.
So this was Robbie Loomis, right?
Yes.
Wasn't he crew chief in this?
Robbie Loomis.
24 car?
Ended up being a championship year. This was 2001. This was the 4th championship for Jeff.
What exactly was your job with the team this year? Because I know you worked from the bottom to the top, but where were you in this particular era?
You're going to see my athleticism here in a minute. I was rear tire carrier on this machine right here. Rear tire.
So you were a tire specialist?
I was underneath mechanic. Tony Gibson was the car chief, so I assisted Tony Gibson, and I was underneath mechanic and the rear tire carrier. That just proves how much the pit crews have improved since then.
See the right side net where, today we have full head surrounds. That was the beginning of the evolution of head surrounds, where the head was contained with that net. We have one on the right side and one on the left side.
Looks funny not seeing any helmets on the pit crews, doesn't it?
It is. There's a lot of changes.
It's crazy. I mean, it's 20 years. A little two-tire stop. Mike Lingerfeld right there getting out of the way.
No adjustments for either race car.
Unfortunately, Mike was the poor guy that got run over on pit road, broke his leg down here at Daytona. You talk about injuries on pit road.
And this was Greg Zeppedelli was crew chief on this car. Now the director of competition is Stuart Haas. He moved from the Northeast to come cup racing with Frank Stoddard and I.
Yep.
Worked on the 99 car as a shock specialist. And then got left us and was a crew chief on this car.
This bad sign right here. Not a lot of guys around him. At least he has one.
His teammate.
I want to see how good this 8 car gets on and off pit road right now. Somehow you get cycled back to 6th. So
yeah, I don't think we had to pit. So there's something about to happen here coming to pit road that we see a lot at this racetrack.
Stacy Compton in the 92.
Chad Knaus,
crew
chief in that car. Kenny Schrader.
Leaders off turn 4. Who's bailing out? Johnny Benson is.
All right, we got another line pitting right here.
Cars in the middle of the pack.
How good was that 7 car with Mike Wallace Michael Waltrip had great runs in that car at the plate tracks, but Mike Wallace had good runs everywhere. You were talking earlier about how you were racing him at Phoenix for the win the same year.
Yeah, he was actually driving for Penske, and I had to pass Mike late in the race at Phoenix to win. He ran second.
Is this Dave Blaney? This is right?
Yeah.
This is Ryan's dad?
What a beautiful paint scheme that car was.
Yeah,
I always
good
loved them colors.
Bill Davis, right?
Yep. When we raced against each other in the Xfinity Series in 98, 99, he had the best looking race car.
The pressure on the rest of these teams to just get to.
Yes.
We're going to watch some more old races.
Dude, this is pretty fun. I mean, if we can't do calling the real thing, I'd love to do this more often.
Uh-oh. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, now I remember it. We thought we were in good shape on the 24, and there we are, backwards in the grass.
12 cars in this wreck.
Oh, boy.
Look at that mess. You know, that same wreck happens today. You know, somebody trying to get on pit road and
hasn't changed, has it?
No.
It's even more likely to happen today because of the grip and you know, the cars kind of get spread out on old tires back in the day, but these days the tires don't really grow away that much. Tires are pretty durable. Track's got a lot of grip. They're all over the top of each other coming to pit road nowadays.
Look at that old close-out window net down there.
Yeah, I remember
Tony Gibson right there to the right.
I remember they were making the window net bars longer and longer to try to block more air from going into the car. NASCAR had to step in.
You could hardly get in the cars. I mean, the window, there's a rule about how big the window could be, but there wasn't a rule about the roll bar and all that.
The roll bar pad got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Slide in.
Trying to block air from coming. I mean, the Nacaducks got bigger and bigger.
Michael Waldrop and Dale Jarrett, those guys, they could hardly get in their cars.
Kurt Busch in this wreck right here. Big news today for Kurt Busch. He's going to join Denny Hamlin next year over at 2311 Racing. Let's see what happens. Who causes this thing?
Coming off the corner.
The white car slowing down.
Right there.
And everybody kind of reacting to that.
Oh, boy.
Skinner.
Kurt Busch get together.
Skinner
into the wall head on. Labonte has no place to go. Neither does Bobby Hamilton when Skinner comes back across the racetrack.
And look at all those cars in the back. Just touch the throttle. You just barely touch the brake and you're locking up the tires.
They didn't have much brake to begin with.
They had a tiny little brakes on them.
Yeah.
Because you weren't going to use them, or weren't planning to use them, so we'd come to these plate races with little skinny discs,
and they would not stop.
They didn't work good.
You know what? The 7 car was slowing down, coming in the pits. 31 checked
That's
up.
A big hit.
97 ran into him.
That is a big hit.
Shot right across it.
Everybody's collected.
Mike Skinner had some big hits in his career.
Boy.
He really did.
Watch the back of this.
Big impact.
Here
comes Dave Marcus.
Pit road.
Top of 9, I think.
Look, a lot of wrecking going on there.
Dave through the grass.
Pit road, if I were you.
He straightens it out. Good job.
Racetrack looked to be the safest place. You ever see Kurt Busch right on the back bumper, and Mike Wallace goes toward pit road. There's the contact. Skinner gets turned.
It's good to hear
Terry Labonte
BP's voice.
Man, it's like just going back, isn't it?
He was so good.
Is that Mark Martin piling in there?
There was few
just
things.
A good guy, just a good person.
Yeah.
Friday morning, every Friday morning, garage open at 7 a.m. I'd go get my tires ready for practice. I'd have a stack behind the hauler, and old BP would just be leaning on one. He worked that garage. All right, Stevie, tell me what's new this week. I mean, he was down there always.
Doesn't take much. I mean, you know, Mike saw the 7 car coming in the
Man,
pits.
that is a shot for Skinner.
A little bit. Busch couldn't see what was going on. It just doesn't take much.
Never saw the
How high off the ground all these cars are. When they start lifting, they pop up in the air.
Yeah.
You would come down here in testing, and you would just work so hard to get the back of the car out of the air, and then you get lower and lower and go faster and faster. You try to lower the front, and it might go slower, might go faster. Terry Labonte.
There's nothing you can do on that. There are all those guys behind.
He's like, what happened?
Nowhere to go. They're up there minding their own business. And
Sterling Marlin.
He dare not turn the steering wheel. Did you see him? He's like, we're going to hit him.
We're just.
I mean, if you did try to turn and avoid, you just spin the car. He's like holding it straight.
Look how far back he is from
Ricky Rudd, this lucky man.
Jeff Gordon, let's see him down there. He makes contact with Sterling Marlin.
Well, a lot of things have changed in speedway racing. One thing hasn't, and it looks like this right here. We put them in a pack. When something goes wrong, it collects a lot of them. 12 collected in this one. There's old Sterling.
Involved in the accident, crashing down onto the pit.
I don't know what happened, man.
Want to make sure they got all the metal picked up and other.
They just started spinning.
We'll take a break. Come back for the caution flag.
Well, they're going to take a break. We just saw the big wreck coming to pit road. Now it's a short little sprint to the finish.
Welcome back to Daytona. Pit stops that could decide the race. Dale Earnhardt Jr., the leader, is in. Much debate about 2 or 4 tires. They decided to go the safe route with 4 tires, and they will still win the race off pit road, barely beating Mike Wallace.
Nice job, guys.
See what NASCAR has to say about that. You see that white line right in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s pit. All he has to do is bump the clutch and get the car across that line.
That was close.
And that locks in his position in the pit exit order. So we'll see where they position people from that.
I don't know if the 7 took 4 or 2 tires on that stop.
Had to be 2.
Yeah.
Had to be 2.
Yeah. 4 tires, that's the right move.
Jeff Gordon still getting attention. One of the 7 cars involved in the wreck just a moment ago off turn 4.
Kevin Harvick, we saw the damage on the right front. They're trying to put a piece of aluminum over that.
Now, let's see. Look at the white line coming out of pit road off the pit stops. That line. Who got there first?
I don't know. I couldn't tell. You, Benny?
Nope, not for NASCAR to decide. That's why they get the big bucks.
So Mike Wallace, for now, defending his position in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the track, but Jr. trying to drop the hint that he thinks maybe he got out first. Seen this on many, well now.
Yeah, he was just told.
He was told by his team. I didn't hear NASCAR tell him.
Here comes Mike back.
I didn't hear NASCAR. But the big winners in all this are the orange car and the green car right there. Bobby Labonte in the green car and Tony Stewart in the orange machine.
They have made their pit stop. They just changed 2 tires, but they have that track position they've been looking for all night long.
Here are the cars involved in the crash. Adding Jason Leffler to the list that we gave you earlier. Mark Martin, one of the Noble 5 drivers with the shot at the $1 million bonus tonight. All triggered with Kurt Busch into the back of Mike Skinner as Mike Wallace slowed to get to pit road. Dave Burns.
Well, and Alan, Sterling Marlin is helping orchestrate whatever fixes they might make here. Sterling, do you think you can make fixes at all here and get back in?
I don't know. Broke something on the steering. I didn't have any steering and couldn't turn relay up. Something's broke somewhere. But I hate to call the Coors Light guys. We had a pretty good car, just tight and loose at times. I don't know what happened. Somebody got in somebody.
What was the first reaction you had? Did your spotter didn't even have time to tell anything, did you?
No, it looked to me like Skinner cut somebody off to get in the pits and turned him sideways, and we don't know where for us to go. But that's what you get with these rules. Everybody's on top of each other. And I pray the good Lord they change these rules because you can't race.
All right, strong opinion from Sterling Marlin on the aerodynamic rules that they have on the cars here, as well as the restrictor plate racing. Alan?
All right. An early fan. And he's here at the racetrack. He's not even watching at home. Championship standings, Jeff Gordon leading Dale Jarrett by 126 coming into the race. But there you see if the race were to finish as it is now.
Ricky Rudd will move into 2nd spot, only 106 points behind Jeff Gordon.
Gordon running in 24th, Jarrett in 21st, and Rudd in 11th on the racetrack at the moment. The whole running order has been jumbled by the caution coming out for the crash in the middle of the green flag pit stops. Johnny Benson is the leader of the race. Benson made his pit stop under green at lap 141, stayed on the lead lap, and was in front of Bobby Labonte and the other guys who'd already stopped when the caution came out. So Benson's the leader. Dave Blaney is 2nd. 3rd is Ken Schrader. Jeremy Mayfield is 4th. Tony Stewart 5th. Then Bobby Labonte 6th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. back in 7th place. And by the way, he did beat Mike Wallace off the pit lane. So it's Jr., then Mike Wallace, then Rusty Wallace, and Ward Burton. Going to be 11 laps to go. What do you think?
I think they better look out for Junior because he'll be coming and he will have fire in his eye. This young man wants this one tonight badly. He wants to end up where we saw that picture just a moment ago in victory lane.
And we talked about the big wreck and how the closer we got to the finish, the higher the probability. These guys are really going to be on edge right now.
Yes. Yeah, we might have another big one here before this is over.
11 laps to settle the Pepsi 400. Here we go. Smoking heavily.
Looks like he's made contact with the outside retaining wall. That's on board with Jeff Gordon, and you can see that we can't see much.
Yeah, nothing much to see.
While they're racing back around toward the caution, they're being told, the drivers are by NASCAR, that they've already taken the caution. It was out when they got here the first time, so slow down.
A huge break for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yes.
Because on the restart, all the cars will line up single file. Those lap cars will go back to the 25th position where they're running on the racetrack. And now he can race these guys for the lead. And he's shown all night that he has a very fast race car. The problem is he going to run out of time?
If you're new to NASCAR, there is a rule called the 10-lap rule. Once you get inside the final 10 laps of the race, if there's a restart, only the cars on the lead
what's
lap
going on with that? I thought that caution had cost me the race, buddy.
Quarter BP, I just saved your bacon.
I was geared up, ready to go.
Listen, I think I was working on sheet metal. I had nothing to do with oil lines.
I saw you up there near the cow area.
Yeah.
And that's where the air goes into the carburetor, and it looks like to me that's what happened. You got it all taped up and it blew it up.
Listen, man, I was just doing my part.
See right there? That's
barely
clearly,
smoking.
that's
I don't
clearly
understand
lack of air to the cow.
I don't understand
blowing it up.
problem.
You were giving Jones such a hard time earlier tonight for staying out too long, and look at what y'all did.
Getting ready to head back to the garage.
Yeah, that was...
The car is still running. But
the car's still running. It's just a small mechanical issue.
Oil line. Robbie Loomis told him to bring the car to pit road. We'll see what we can do. If possibly we can.
You know what I said earlier? You can't be in denial.
Yeah, I can't be in. Yeah,
that's
no,
in denial right
there. We're gonna fix it. I think Jeff's like, y'all are crazy. You ain't fixing nothing. This
Look at that shifter.
Yeah, man. That's like the old Hurst 101.
Johnny Benson is the leader. Benson got the lead by being on the racetrack when the caution came out, having already made a pit stop. Question is, did he get 2 tires, 4 tires? Dave Burns, what was it?
Well, we'll ask James Zintz. They are on strategy right now. James, when you came on under green on pit road, did you take on 2 or 4 tires?
We took on right side tires, and that's not really a concern to us. This car's always done pretty good on 2 tires. About won 2 races last year here on 2 tires. So, we'd rather be leading right now with 2 than be back in the back with 4.
And you've been dumped to the rear before at the end of a race like this. How do you keep that from happening this time?
Well, it's either if it gets dumped to the rear, it's going to be backwards into the fence because they come by. They're going to have to hit it hard.
All right, Johnny Benson wants to win. Let's go to Marty.
Well, Daytona Uri Sr. is the crew chief for Dale Earnhardt Jr. You've led 111 laps tonight, but it seems like time might be running out. He's sitting back there with caution laps counting away.
Yeah, this situations that nobody likes to see on a plate race because they'll be 5 wide when they come back, and they ain't no telling what's going to happen. Definitely, best man's probably not going to win this race. Ain't no telling what's going to happen.
Do you think he will not win the race because he said on the radio, I think we can get past him?
Well,
we definitely got the car to pass them. And we're definitely going to give it a try. And if that Budweiser Chevy will get there, we're going to get there. But this plate racing stuff, it's all with who's in front of you and who's behind you or whatever. So you don't have no control of your own destiny. We can get there, we'll get there. If we can't, hey, we know who had the fastest car tonight.
From cars behind him, he has been promised help, but he does not know if he's going to be able to get to the front in time.
Oh, man, 6 laps to go when they throw the green flag. And passing on the restricted plate racetracks is a tough thing to do. We've seen cars unable to pass him all night long, but we haven't seen how easily he can pass.
Tell you what, too, you got 3 guys up there in the top 3 right now. 2 of them have not won a race. 1 hasn't won a race in a long time. I'd be making deals with each other, saying, guys, let's not let some of these guys that win every weekend win one of these races. Let's run together, run some laps, and last lap, every man for himself.
All right, bottom line, can Dale Jr. win this race?
Yes.
You're thinking about it too long.
Like Tony said, if they get 3-4 wide on the backstretch, anything can happen, and it will.
Well, now
he still has a shot.
Let's talk about the desperation factor, okay? The first 2, Johnny Benson and Dave Blaney, have never won a Winston Cup race. Ken Schrader hasn't won the third-place car since 1991. Tony Stewart, running 5th, is one of the drivers eligible for the $1 million bonus.
Got 5 very hungry men sitting up there right now.
Yes, plus Jeremy Mayfield, who's in there, and those guys all in front of Dale Jr. Behind Dale Jr. to help him draft, Mike Wallace, Bobby Labonte, Rusty Wallace, Ward Burton. I'm sure he'd love to see Michael Waltrip or Steve Park somewhere close to him. Michael's back in 14th and Park is in 22nd.
I don't think Dale needs anybody.
Get all the gears.
7 laps left. Now it'll be 6 as they come to the start-finish line. Time to settle the Pepsi 400 at Daytona. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is 6th in line, and Benson leads on the restart.
Once again, you can't pass on the inside till you get to that line. All right, it's free game. Let's go.
Ward Burton quickly down to the inside to try and grab a spot.
See Jeff Gordon back on the racetrack. Earnhardt Jr. lying back, trying to get him to run. He has that run, but Tony Stewart pulls up in front of him. He's got Jeremy Mayfield.
He's got time, I guess.
Schrader pushed to the outside lane.
20 cars, the only one upstairs. Still outside.
Look at Junior go.
Up to 4th. Here comes Bobby Labonte pushing through. Junior to the outside of Mayfield for 3rd.
7's coming with you. 7's coming.
Mike Wallace is coming with him. We can hear Ty Norris telling him, you got help on the outside, Junior.
There's Blaney block in the 93. What about Benson?
They're going to stay on the bottom of the racetrack. I think they're going to give the outside to Junior.
Jeff Gordon getting black flagged by NASCAR.
Still there.
Here's Dale Jr. to the outside of Dave Blaney for 2nd spot. Mayfield pushes him along in the draft.
Still there. Still there.
To the outside for the lead in turn 4. Dale Earnhardt Jr. rockets to the front at Daytona. Listen to the crowd.
And look at this crowd behind him. Look at this race behind him. And Tony Stewart gets run underneath the yellow line.
Tony Stewart will be black flagged by NASCAR. Black flag for Tony Stewart for going below the out-of-bounds line.
All clear, all clear.
And Tony Stewart is in 2nd spot with $1 million on the line.
Okay, 20's coming, but you're all clear, all clear.
Here comes Bobby Labonte. He's got $1 million on the line as well. It's Michael Waltrip who's pushing him toward the front.
And Labonte's underneath the yellow line on the backstretch.
This thing's not over yet. Michael Waltrip trying to become the first man to sweep a season at Daytona since 1982. He's up to 3rd.
18, 15 behind you. 3 laps to go.
Ward Burton dives low.
Low, but you're clear.
I'll tell you one thing. If Junior was running 3/4 full, all that ended because he's running wide open right now. me.
Frantic, intense racing in the final laps at Daytona, but it's still Dale Earnhardt Jr. out in front. They've got to take the win away from him.
Teammate behind the 18.
Tony Eury Jr. is clapping, saying, come on, Junior, come on.
2 to go.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to block, trying to keep those cars behind him, desperately trying to keep them behind him. He runs so good through the corner, he lets him get a run on him down the straightaway.
Michael Waltrip dives underneath Bobby Labonte. They bump on the backstretch. Waltrip to second. Elliott Sadler and Rusty Wallace with him.
Coming behind you.
Now 2 team cars race in the 1 and 2 positions.
That's who Dale needs to see in his rearview mirror right now. That's the best thing he can see.
But a white flag
Will
on your
Michael
teammate
Waltrip
behind you.
blocked for Dale Jr.? Will he try to win the race himself? White flag is out. Final lap at Daytona. 180,000 on their feet, screaming wildly. 2.5 miles to go.
Just exactly the opposite of the Daytona 500. It was 15 and 8. Elliott Sadler is trying to keep Bobby Labonte behind. He can't do it. But he does move down in front of Rusty Wallace on that fast line.
Clear, all clear.
Bobby Labonte looking for some help, trying to get up there. His teammate Tony Stewart has never answered the black flag.
And they're 4 wide back between the Wallace boys.
Here they come, turn 4, final lap of the Pepsi 400. Michael Waltrip in second, but it's going to be Dale Earnhardt Jr. using lessons learned from his father to go from 6th to 1st and score the victory in the Pepsi 400.
That's unbelievable.
Yes!
That man behind you did it for you.
Yes!
You guys celebrate. Love you, man. You did it.
That was beautiful. Very, very nice.
Junior, you're happy.
Look at that smile. Wow.
I don't think there's anybody here that didn't want to see that.
Sentimental favorite, emotional favorite. Earlier in the broadcast, we talked among ourselves. Some of the moves he made on the track today looked like his father behind the wheel.
I am speechless.
Tears and cheers.
Pretty cool.
Marty Snyder's on pit road with Tony Eury, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s crew chief.
And you wouldn't believe the emotion, the tears out here for Dale Earnhardt Jr. If that wasn't like the old man, I don't know what was, Tony Sr.
Hey, he had a good teacher. He told him a lot about this place. He loves this place. Hell, listen to them fans up there. They love that kid to death.
I saw you look to the heavens with a few laps to go. What did you say?
Well, he said he knew he could beat him. We just didn't know what was going to happen.
Remember when we've seen this before?
And Steve Mills joining the fray now.
Yeah, man, D.I.'s tough. D.I.'s tough.
We can celebrate. What a finish at Daytona. Dale Jr. on top of the car in the infield.
1998 Daytona 500, when his father finally won the Great American Race. He threw the car into the grass doing victory donuts. Everybody joining in the celebration. That's Chocolate Myers, long-time crewman for Dale at Richard Childress Racing. Sixth to first in the final 6 laps. All right, Mikey, you celebrate too. You never got to celebrate your win in February. You celebrate now.
Man, that's just so cool. Storybook ending.
Well, it was an amazing night 20 years ago and amazing to relive it tonight. Junior, has to be awesome to see these shots.
Yeah, I never tire of watching this race. I've watched it over and over many, many times, and such a great memory for me. So I'm actually, I'd love to have been able to call a live race tonight. We get to do that tomorrow. The next best thing was to sit here with you guys and relive a great moment from my own career.
I won't lie. I'm with you. Live racing is great, but we might be onto something. Reliving some old races with you two is a lot of fun. Hearing some of those secrets. I think now we know. He started to tell us how he made some of those moves.
Yeah, started to tell us. As a guy in that race that night, you always want to be the one that wins, right? But there's moments that you don't win, but it's still a great moment. And there's not many. We're very selfish as race car drivers, but that was one of those nights that you were just like, yeah, we didn't win, but look at this. I mean, the crowd was nuts. So much energy, so much excitement. It was just huge for our sport at a time where a lot of people, were your father was their hero, right? And he was their hero. And to see you come win, it was just a huge moment.